basically now what we have to do here is we need to move this code from the handler. From the concept here is we need to look into the concept of trigger handlers. The trigger handler, basically the actual business logic should not reside in the trigger body. It should basically reside in a trigger handler class, and this class method should be invoked from the trigger. So it helps in managing the code complexity and isolate the errors in the trigger handler. So let's take a look at this. So now if you go to your developer console, so let's open up the trigger. So if you see here now, what has happened is I have moved all the code from the before to a class called accounting. So let's open up this class and see what's happening here. So we basically have moved all these parameters. See the three parameters being passed: trigger.new, trigger.old, and trigger.old map. So we have all put it into the method. The same code has been moved to a method. It takes three parameters. First is the list, second is a list, third is a map of old, and then it passes it into this. So instead of this account.a.trigger.new and all, here it is going to pass through the trigger.trigger.old and trigger new. Okay. Instead of trigger.new, this is getting passed as a parameter. Please take a look here. So the same code has been moved. This is how we write it. So there isn't any difference. Basically the parameters have to change, and then you use those parameters in your for loops. So that is the only thing over here, but ideally you should keep it in a class like this. You create a class, then you create a static handler, static method, and then you pass the parameters, and the processing remains the same. So I'll just show you quickly for the after methods. So this is already done for the before. So let me copy all of this code from the trigger.isAfter and trigger.isInsert. Let me copy it here, and let me create another method here. Public static void handler2. Copy it here. Okay. Now Control A Shift Tab is for indentation. Control A Shift Tab. So now in this, what we have to do is we need to change this to list of accounts will get passed here. That is fine, but again we are going to call it trigger new, and we are going to take this instead of this trigger.new. We're just going to use this variable. Okay, and now we're just going to call this from the method. So the after method has moved over here. Everything else is the same. So basically you need to call. Why do we do this? It's for better management of code. Okay, so we don't have any errors here. So what we do here is, now let's call the second method, and it takes only one parameter. So in handler 2 we are going to handle the after, and in handler. So if you have any problems during debugging or during real time, what we can do is we can only comment out the first part of it or a particular section of it, and the whole thing doesn't get affected. So that is the benefit of this framework. It's called the trigger handler framework. So in the after, we have seen that it needs to create account. So contact. So what we will do is, let's create contacts from here and see accounts from here and see if it gets created. First we'll create an contact, and then we will try to delete it. Let's create a new account. The internet is a bit slow here. So active bold SLA, and everything else is fine. So let's create this account. So it should automatically, okay, we need to also, yeah, okay, so let's make this active, and then what it is going to do is it's going to come here and trigger account handle. So let's see account handler line number 3. We are having a problem here. handler 1 line 18. Okay. So yeah, so what we are going to do is this logic we will do only if it is in delete mode. So that was the problem here. What it was doing is it was trying to get a list of contacts. So it was in the before delete, it was trying to get a list of contacts, but we are in the before insert. So there is no map, old map. So that is the problem here. So that is fine. So we move the code into the if condition, which is fine. But as long as the query should be out of the for loops, that's fine. Okay. So now let's do this again. Let's go back now, create a new account again. And say test 600. Yes, save SLA. Roll and save it. So now the test account got created and now the contact now got created. Yes, so the contact has got created. But now when we try to delete it, it's not going to allow it. And again, the handler method is going to fire. So yeah, you get from the handler method. So if you look at the code here, so I have added it in the handler method over here. So what you can do is you can pause it over here and complete all of this task before we go ahead. Please move all the code from the trigger to the Apex class and then we can proceed. Please understand that we have to complete this. So basically, this is the trigger framework implementation. I have shared the actual complex Salesforce trigger factory class implementation code, which you can refer later. In that, you basically have an interface and then a handler which implements this interface, and then a common trigger handler class. For beginners, what you can do is you can understand this, and once you get this concept clear, you can go ahead and try the interface implementation.